virtually. May you send forth your divine wisdom to our speakers as they impart effectively their God-given gift to all of us. May they be blessed as they continue to share their expertise to the people who needs them. Bless the participants as well, so that they would be able to obtain vital information from this activity. May you send forth your Holy Spirit so that after this webinar, we may share what we learned in the spirit of your love and generosity, especially during these trying times. May we be able to bring glory to you, Lord, in everything that we do. Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So good morning, everyone, especially to our first speaker today. To my fellow student, I hope you're doing well your online classes. Today, our seminar that we conduct together with my co-classmates, the fourth year level, the guidance with our program head, Mr. Rafi Niones. We hope that we will learn something from the great people who will be our guests today. We have a four great guest speaker who will give us knowledge. So I want you to introduce to all of you our first speaker. Alam niyo yan, simula first year hanggang fourth year, kilala natin itong first speaker na to. Bukod na sa magaling pa magturo, mabait na igwapo pa. So let me introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker for today, Dr. Marmelo Abante. Doc Melo, as what his friends call him, is an educator by heart. He graduated with 4 bachelor degrees in IT and management, 3 master's degree, 4 doctorate degrees in addition, and ongoing Juris Doctor studies. His passion for teaching and sharing skills and experience has produced thousands of graduates over the years. He believes that it's the true solid education that our economy and our country would level up to the world's best. Thus, when he teaches, he gives his whole dedication and focus with the goal of producing globally competitive next generation skilled professionals. He is known by his colleagues to be a very hardworking professor, dean, business partner, school administrator. He was written several IT books used by several colleges and universities nationwide. An international speaker, he gets frequent invitations to share his knowledge in various countries as a research speaker on topics about education, data privacy, management, and IT. A great mentor and a coach, Doc Melo has definitely helped shape the lives of some students and teachers, guiding them to achieve more successful in life. Doc Melo, despite his busy schedule, find time to further serve the country through BPS TC60, where he was recently re-elected as the chairman of SC2 on IT for learning, education, and training. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Dr. Marmelo V. Abante. Hello.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Ms. Rinabel, for your introduction. Uh, I think this will be a big event for our first year students, and I really want to congratulate all of them for having this event as the requirements for the on-the-job training as their prelim examinations. So all of our IT students are required to conduct seminars wherein they are the one who look for a topic, a speaker, and at the same time who facilitate this seminar or webinar rather. Okay, so to begin with my discussion, actually I will be the one who discuss the second topic, but of course, due to some technical problem in Palawan with our first speaker, so I just want to start no, as your first speaker. Okay, I will share my screen. By the way, I just want to inform you that we are in a YouTube live. Okay. So for those who have question, don't hesitate to post your question in our chat box. And I will entertain your questions right after my presentation. Nakikita nyo na po screen ko? Hello? Nakikita nyo na po ba yung screen ko?
Yes po, pero naka-freeze po kayo.
for today is about the data privacy. Okay, everyone. So my topic for today is about the Data Privacy Act of 2012, its compliance and implementation in online education, the data privacy in teaching. So I just want to thank Dr. Mary Joy Abueg for the help of this with this presentation. So RA 10173 or the Data Privacy Act of 2012 protects an individual from unauthorized processing of personal information that is private, not publicly available, and identifiable where the identity of the individual is apparent either through direct attribution or when put together with other available information. So, as what we have here, the amount of data collected in the internet in 60 seconds. So, in one minute, no, 3.5 million searches are performed on Google, 900,000 users log into Facebook, and 4.1 million videos on YouTube. But that's not all. In just 60 seconds, you spend 751.22 US dollar online, download 342,000 apps, and send 452,000 tweets in 60 seconds. Surprise? There's even more. So, the United States leads other countries with almost 85% of identified stolen worldwide. While population size explains this amount, the United States strengthened data breach reporting requirements suggest that the identity theft count in other countries may be underreported. Despite their smaller population, countries like South Korea and Canada are among the most hacked. According to Semantic, these countries were affected by mega breaches affecting more than 10 million identities. So, for example, the Daily Motion breach in France exposed 85 million identities, almost equal to the total data records stolen for the whole year. We also see other smaller countries like Sweden and the Netherlands size much larger proportionately. These geographic views reveal that dense populations in first world power are not the sole sources of data breaches. Specific events and laws create gaps between countries, leading to major breaches that steal more data records than the population that exists in some countries. With global data privacy regulations like GDPR and NDB taking place, it's will be interesting to see how data breaches continue to impact the world. So breaches and cases in the Philippines, the academic setting. So UP Visayas website hack. Okay, Manila Bulletin written, no, hackers took over the University of the Philippines Visayas website on Thursday, June 11, 2020, leaving a note, website breached by you know who you. The hackers added, you are endangered the welfare of your students. May this message serve you as a warning. In a Twitter post, UP Visaya said it has temporarily taken down the web server after the website defacement. UP Visayas has temporarily taken down the web server after the defacement of the UPB website. The technical team is now doing a security audit of all UP Visaya system and is taking the necessary steps to ensure that no further harm will be done. The technical team is now doing a security audit of all their systems and is taking the necessary steps to ensure that no further harm will do, the university added. Scoutmag.ph, hashtag mass promotion now, has been students' rallying cry on Twitter lately. Due to academic institution relying on online classes, students are having a difficult time adjusting to the new normal, especially students without internet access readily available to them. Some students go to Twitter to voice out their concern, but 4 students from Bicol University took on an unusual protest instead. On April 27, Bicol University's official website got hacked. All of this trouble in the name of voicing out why online classes would not benefit the entire student body. The homepage of the official website of Bicol University has been hacked by an anonymous group in relation to AO number 91, series of 2020. Writes the Bicol Universitarian, the guidelines released on April 26 state that classes will resume on May 2 via remote teaching and learning or distance education strategies as the semester will end on May 20, 2020. Manila update. ABS-CBN News mentioned that the Polytechnic University of the Philippines in Far Eastern University said Thursday the respective student portals were hacked in the latest cyber attacks on tertiary education institutions in less than a month. In a statement, the PUP Information and Communication Technology Office said it had conducted an initial investigation after reports surfaced the university's student information system was hacked. The PUP-ICTO has determined the extent of the data breach and has already advised the members of the PUP community on what to do to protect their individual SIS account. The PUP-ICTO said initial investigation reveals that no sensitive users' information was compromised in this incident. It said the PUP-ICTO said it would strengthen the safety features of the student portal. The office added it would submit the findings of its investigation to the Department of Information and Communication Technology and to the National Privacy Commission. Meanwhile, FEU apologized as it confirmed an intrusion in the student portal of its Manila campus. They mentioned, we assure you that this incident is being taken seriously. The student portal is temporarily unavailable as we assess the situation and implement corrective measures before making it accessible, FEU said in a statement. FEU advised each student to reset the password of their Microsoft Office 365 accounts. So almost 30 Philippine schools hacked just this June. Cybercriminals have been hard at work in the past few months. It's not just small, using a startup at risk, schooling just as much risk. So here is the list of 30 Philippine schools hacked. Okay? So Access, San Beda, Philippine Visayas, Far Eastern University, SNU, TAU, University of St. Lasan, ICCT colleges, AMA universities, and a lot more. Now, when we are securing our own, of course, the World City colleges, as you can see here in our URL address, that is https www.worldcity.edu.ph. Okay, how does HTTPS work? HTTPS uses an encryption protocol to encrypt communications. The protocol is called Transport Layer Security, although formerly it was known as Secure Sockets Layer. This protocol secures communication by using what's known as an asymmetric public key infrastructure. This type of security system uses two different keys to encrypt communication between two parties. Number one, the private key. This key is controlled by the owner of a website and it's kept as the reader may have speculated private. This key lives on a web server and is used to decrypt information encrypted by the public key. Number two, the public key. This key is available to everyone who wants to interact with the server in a way that's secure. Information that's encrypted by the public key can only be decrypted by the private key. So, why is HTTPS important? What happens if a website doesn't have HTTPS? HTTPS prevents websites from having their information broadcast in a way that's easily viewed by anyone snooping on the network. When information is sent over regular HTTP, the information is broken into packets of data that can be easily sniped using free software. This makes communication over an unsecure medium such as public Wi-Fi highly vulnerable to interception. In fact, all communications that occur over HTTP occur in plain text, making them highly accessible to anyone with the correct tools and vulnerable to on-path attacks. With HTTPS, traffic is encrypted such that even if the packets are snipped or otherwise intercepted, they will come across as nonsensical characters. Okay, education in home and the Philippine Star. Government agencies schools summon over data breach. So Commissioner Liboro affirmed that the NPC would continue to focus on the education sector, makes up 70% of the breaches received in the first half of the year, coming from the privacy.gov.ph. So what is the Data Privacy Act of 2012? So Section 1, a short title, this act shall be known as the Data Privacy Act of 2012. Republic Act 10173, the Data Privacy Act of 2012, an act protecting individual personal information in information and communication systems in the government and the private sector, creating for this purpose a National Privacy Commission and for other purposes. So the National Privacy Commission is a body that is mandated to administer and implement this law. So the functions of the NPC include rulemaking, advisory, public education, compliance and monitoring, investigation and complaints, and enforcement. The scope of the DPA or Data Privacy Act. The Data Privacy Act applies to the processing of all types of personal information and to any natural and juridical person in the country and even abroad, subject to certain qualifications. The Data Privacy Act is broadly applicable to individuals and legal entities that process personal information with some exemption. The law has extraterritorial application, applying not only to business with offices in the Philippines, but when equipment based in the Philippines is used for practicing. Timeline of DPA law and other issuance past organizations compliance. So as you can see here, Data Privacy Act passed into law 2012. National Privacy Commission was formed in March 2016. Implementing rules and regulations was published on August 2016. Then 12 months after, from September 9, 2016 to 17, IRR came into effect and deadline of BPO registration. In March 8, 2018, deadline for annual registration of the DPS. Then June 30, 2018, deadline of annual security incident reports. The registration requirement, all personal data processing system operating in the Philippines that involve personal data concerning at least 1,000 individuals or persons records must be registered with National Privacy Commission. Again, concerning at least 1,000 individual or persons record, it must be registered with National Privacy Commission. Key rules in the Data Privacy Act. So as I mentioned earlier, data subject. It refers to an individual whose sensitive personal or privileged information is processed personal. PIC or Personal Information Controller. It controls the processing of personal data, or instruct another to process personal data on its behalf. Another key roles of PIP, organization or individual whom a personal information controller may outsource or instruct the processing of personal data pertaining to a data subject. Data Protection Officer or the DPO. He or she responsible for the overall management of compliance to Data Privacy Act. And the National Privacy Commission, independent body mandated to administer and implement the Data Privacy Act of 2012 and to monitor and ensure with international standards set to personal data protection. Okay, data subject, as I mentioned, an individual whose personal, sensitive, personal, or privileged information is processed. The privacy administrator and implementer of the act, so to monitor and ensure compliance of the country with international standard set for data protection, key functions include rulemaking, advisory, public education, compliance monitoring, investigation and complaints, and enforcement. The PIC and PIB, of course, has a custody and control so the processing of personal of data subjects and contracts with data subjects. Then the personal information processor, to whom personal information controllers outsource of the processing of personal data of each data subject, has no direct contact with the data subjects. Data subjects in academic setting, for example, in World City Colleges. Okay, of course, student. One of the example of a data subjects is the student. Teaching and non-teaching personnel, even job order, contractual or professional or regular. Parents and guardians, applicant, student or employee, administrator, board of trustee, visitors, even visitors, guest, website or walk-in, contact person like contractors, OJT partners, suppliers, academic linkages, and industry partners. Even the consultants, exchange students and professors, research subjects as respondents, and community extension participants. So they are the one who consider as data subjects. So for personal information controller, so of course we have university and college as a PIC, professional organization, which is SEC registered. For example, if we have alumni organizations, which is SEC registered, a company, of course, the process owner, registrar, human resource, and MIS head. So the data controller responsibility, you are the data controller if your company or organization, if you decide to collect the personal information of your customers, site visitors, and other targets. You must have legal authority to do so. So what to collect? To change, modify the data that you get, where and how to use the data and towards what purpose. Whether to keep the data in-house in the third parties, you are also figured whom to share the data with and how long the data is kept and when the data dispose of it. Okay, so PIP, so the Personal Information Processor, government agencies for legal mandate to process like CHED, TESDA, DepEd, GSIS, and SSS, BIR, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, and others. Accrediting auditing agencies like ISO, PACOCOA, ALCOCOA, and many more. Payroll bank depository, third-party academic service providers like travel and tours, learning management system, outsourced service, insurance companies, Google in online platform. The data processor responsibilities, a data processor is the one who carries out the actual processing of the data under the specific instruction of the data controller. You are the data processor if you are instructed or tasked by a data controller to perform such of the following. You are assigned to design, create, and implement IT processes and systems that would enable the data controller to gather personal data. Use tools and strategies to gather personal data. Implement security measures that would safeguard personal data. Store personal data gathered by the data controller and transfer data from the data controller to another organization and vice versa. So if you wanted to know the details about the right of the data subjects or rights of the data subject, so of course we need to consider the right to be informed. That is IRR section 34.A, right to object. If you don't want to give some data or information for some reason, that is under IRR section 34.B, right to access, of course, right to access your records, and so on, IRR section 34.C, right to data portability, IRR section 36, right to correct or rectification, IRR section 34.D, right to file a complaint. You have a right to complain, IRR section 34.A.2, right to damages, IRR section 34.F, and right to erasure or blocking, IRR section 35, and transmissibility of rights, IRR section 35. So the right to be informed. The data subject has right to be informed whether personal data pertaining to him or her will be are being or were processed. The data subject should be notified and furnished with the following information before the entry of his or her personal data into the processing system or at the next practical opportunity. So description of the personal data to be entered in the system, purposes of which they are being or will be processed, including processing for direct marketing, profiling, or historical, statistical, or scientific purposes. So for example, they will use your information about your former school in high school for marketing purposes. Okay, you need to you have the right to be informed first, and they need your approval. Basis of processing: when processing is not based on the consent of the data subject, scope and method of the personal data processing, the recipients of classes of recipient to whom the personal data are or may be disclosed, method utilizing for automated access, and others. Okay, the right to object. The data subject has the right to object to the processing of his or her personal data, including processing for direct marketing, automated pricing, or profiling. He or she should be given an opportunity to withhold consent in case of any amendment to the information supplied to the data subject under the right to be informed. So, right to access, the data subject is the right to reasonable access to upon defending the following: contents of his or her personal data that were processed, sources from which personal data were obtained, and names and address of recipients of the personal data. The right to erasure or blocking. The data subject has the right to suspend, withdraw, or order the blocking, removal, or destruction of his or her personal data from the personal information controller's filing system. This right may be exercised upon discovery and substantial proof of any of the following. So, example, the personal data is incomplete. The personal data is being used for a purpose not authorized by the data subjects, and others. The right to damage. The data subject should be indemnified for any damages sustained due to such false, incomplete, outdated, unlawfully obtained, or organized use of personal data, considering any violation of his or her rights and freedom as a data subject. So, transmissibility of rights of the data subjects and right to data portability. Example of potential breaches and security incidents involving personal information. Of course, bank, they need to have a consent form. Hospital and school records, storage and disposal policy. The student transferred without consent. Clinical records of the student to disclose with her parents need consent. List of top student or passer need consent. Cedula in malls, disposal policy improper, disposal. Security issues in buildings, logbook. So for example, if you visited some universities and colleges and you are required to input your name, address, contact number, and so on. Use a recycled papers, disposal policy, access due to negligence, hard drive sold online, disposal policy, use of CCTV, privacy issues, use of USB, CD, personal laptop, encryption issues. For access control and security policy, personal records stolen from home of unemployed security, and others. Then other violations, Data Privacy Act principles, no data sharing agreement, no privacy notice, no subcontracting agreement, no breach drill, profiling of customer of malls, unjustifiable collection of personal data of a principal or proportionality. Okay, and take note, this will be the potential penalty or penalties listed in the Data Privacy Act. So we have the DPA section 25 to 33, the Punishable Act, unauthorized processing, access due to negligence, improper disposal, unauthorized purposes, intentional breach, concealment of breach, malicious disclosure, unauthorized disclosure, and combination of acts. So this will be the jail terms, and this will be the fine. So as you can see, 1 million. Okay, for combination of acts, 1 to 3 years jail term or imprisonment. So take note of that. Classification of personal data. Personal information refers to any information, whether recorded in a material form or not, from which the identity of an individual is apparent or can be reasonably and directly ascertained by the entity holding, or when put together with other information would directly and certainly identify an individual. That is personal information. So sensitive personal information refers to personal information about an individual, like race. Your race must be a sensitive personal information. Your ethnic of origin, your marital status, your age, your color, or your religious, your philosophical or political affiliation, your health, your education, your genetics, your sexual life, any proceeding for any offense committed or alleged to have been committed, to disposal of such proceedings, the sentence of any court in such proceedings. Also include information issued by the government agencies peculiar to an individual, which includes but not limited to social security numbers, previous or current health records, licenses, suspension or revocation, and tax return, and specifically established by an executive order, an act of Congress to be kept classified. So this will be an example of personal information. So name, address, place of work, telephone number, your gender, location, IP address, birth date, birthplace, country or citizen, citizenship status, payroll and benefits information, and your contact information. Sensitive personal information, of course, as I mentioned, your race, and so on. Ethnic origin, age, education, sexual life, and others. So privileged information, data received within the context of a protected relationship, husband and wife. Covered this one, race, ethnic origin, marital, age, and color. For data received within the context of protected relationship, attorney and client, so affiliation, religious, philosophical, political. For data received within the context of protected relationship, priest and penitent, of course, covered health, education, genetics, and sexual life, and data received with the context of protected relationship, doctor and patient. So this one. Additional sensitive personal information. So as I mentioned earlier, in addition, of course, websites visited. That is also a sensitive personal information. Materials downloaded. any other information reflecting preferences and behavior of an individual, grievance information, discipline information, leave of absence reason, licenses or its denial, suspension, or revocation. So what data do we collect from our data subjects? Okay? So data protection is in school is a must. No? Schools work with an incredible amount of personal data. So this includes information such as student names, addresses, medical information, images, and more. Additionally, no, information related to the job applicants, governors, staff, and volunteer is often stored within a school database. The Data Protection Act was designed to protect the privacy of individuals. When the DPA was updated to the GDPR in May 2018, the regulations around data protection changed throughout Europe. Schools handled what the GDPR classifies as a special category data, detailing student information such as ethnicity, rare biometric data, and trade union membership in some instances. This data is subject to strict controls and therefore schools need to adhere to GDPR guidelines and protect this information efficiently. So how social media influence purchase decision? Of course, criteria for local processing of personal information. Okay? So they need consent, contract with the individual, vital interest, life and health, legal obligations, national emergency public order and safety prescribed by law, constitutional or statutory mandate of a public authority, and legitimate interest of PIC or third party. So this will be a quote. I always heard this quote to Dr. Lansigan. Dr. Lansigan explained how important Data Privacy Act is to an agency. Do not protect if you cannot protect. So he said, and he stated that not to collect data or information that is not absolutely needed by the organization. Dr. Lansigan iterated that each organization have to comply with this law and register to the National Privacy Commission, a body mandated to administer the law, especially those organizations that involve personal data concerning at least 1,000 individual personal records. So personal data life cycle, so from acquisition to storage, then use, transfer, then destruction. So that is RA 9470, National Archives of the Philippine Act of 2007. For more details, Procedure Manual, Title 3 of DAO 92 to 29, Hazardous Waste Management or DNRAO Series of 2004. What are the key considerations when listing your personal data? What personal data do you collect? In what form and through which channel? For what purpose you collect personal data? How it is used? Who is this data shared with internally and externally? Who is the authorized to access this data? Where do you keep your data? How long do you keep your data? And how do you dispose this data? These key considerations is considered within the personal data life cycle. Data privacy principles in the Philippines. Transparency. So the consent regime. A data subject must be aware of the nature, purpose, and extent of the processing of his or her personal data, including the risks and safeguards involved, the identity of personal information controller, his or her rights as a data subject, and how this can be exercised. Any information and communication relating to the processing of personal data should be easy to access and understand using clear and plain language. Legitimate purpose. This processing of information shall be compatible with a declared and specified purpose which must not be contrary to law, morals, or public policy. Proportionality. The processing of information shall be adequate, relevant, suitable, necessary, and not excessive in relation to a declared and specified purpose. Personal data shall be able to process only if the purpose of processing could not reasonably be fulfilled by means. So online learning guidelines issued to help protect student privacy and reduce data breaches in school. So guidelines contained in the advisory number 2020-1, the Data Privacy Council Education Sector, okay, stated that those in don'ts. So for a student, for example, uh, that those per student creating strong password when signing up on e-learning platforms. Password should be at least 12 characters containing upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and if possible, symbols. Staying alert during online classes, especially when sharing videos, photos, and files. Using customized background to avoid accidental disclosure of personal information. Installing and regularly updating an antivirus program, muting the microphone and turning off the camera by default, especially when not speaking or reciting. Turning off the microphone and camera when leaving one's station for, say, bathroom breaks. What are the don'ts? Connecting phones, laptops, and other gadgets to free or public Wi-Fi networks. Sharing submission for an unlimited time. Sending assignment, projects, and other requirements to teachers via social media, taking screenshots of other feed of teachers and classmates, spamming the chat, giving out online links and their password to people who should not be in the class. For parents or legal guardians, what are the do's? Helping the child or ward check and customize privacy setting of the device or application for online learning, teaching them basic online security, taking a moment to peruse the school's privacy policy, ensuring that your consent is obtained for the recording of classes, and consider being present during this session, especially if the student is a minor. What are the don'ts for the parents and guardian? Leaving the child, especially minors, unsupervised during the conduct of online learners or online learning. For teachers, teachers must always consider the privacy, equity, and peculiarity among students when conducting online classes. So areas of concern, the guidance listed areas of concern covered by the guidance. These are the use of learning management system and online productivity platforms, other available and official supporting tools for online learning, use of social media, publication of information or files via other means of platforms, storage of personal data, use of webcams and the recording of videos of online discussion, online proctoring, and data security. So better, again, for the student to turn off their camera and turn off their microphone if not necessary to use. Okay, the advisory, among other things, said that an announcement or posting involving personal data such as grades in result assignment must be viewable only by its intended recipient. Okay, so the teachers are not allowed to show all the grades with every student. So downloading of personal data stored in the LMS or OPP should be kept to a minimum and or limited to that which is necessary for online learning. Okay? This will be the related law regulations, guidelines, and circular and memoranda. For photo and video, visit RA 99995. For security, ISO, Information Security Management, Security Techniques, and MIS Server and Officer of Government, the use of updated cryptographic protocols. For blurring of face, Philippine Constitution right to privacy. For disposal of data, RA 9470. For disposal of electronic equipment, Procedure Manual, Title 3 of DAO, 92 to 29 Hazardous Waste Management. And transmitting of data, RA 8792 or E-Commerce Act of 2000. Now, the National Privacy Commission initiated Code of Conduct to guide school amid shift to online education. Okay? So, that is on June 28, 2020. So as such, the following are the recommendation of the Commission. Create a data breach response team which will be responsible for creating and implementing an incident response procedure. This will help schools contain the impact of the breach and immediately restore integrity to the information and communication system. Create policies and implement them effectively to prevent or minimize breaches and ensure timely discovery of a security incident. Conduct security audits and tests such as privacy impact assessment, source code audit, vulnerability assessment, and penetration testing, especially when there are changes in conditions that warrant a review of data privacy and security policy. Proactively explore and adopt measures that can help prevent intrusions. This includes investing in secure web application and automated detection system where practicable to their available resources. So security of personal data in a government agency. Data security means protecting data from destruction and any unwanted or unauthorized action through the implementation of appropriate technical and organizational measures. So the Commission recommends ISO IEC 27018 as the most appropriate certification for the service of function provided by a service for in relation to the data security. So ISO standard for information technology, security techniques, code of practice for protection of personal identifiable information in public clouds acting as PII processor. For security techniques of course, 27018-2019 and ISO IEC 27018 of Code of Practice for Protecting Personal Data in the Cloud. So general obligation of the government agency engaged in the processing of personal information through its head of agency designate a data protection officer. The school required to conduct a privacy impact assessment for each program, process, or measure within the agency that involves personal data. Create privacy and data protection policies. Conduct an annual mandatory agency-wide training on privacy and data protection policies and similar training during all agency personnel orientation. Register its data processing system with the National Privacy Commission subject to the conditions under the Data Privacy Act, its IRR, and other issuance of the Commission, and cooperate with the Commission when its privacy and data protection policies are subjected to review and assessment in terms of their compliance with the requirements, the Act, its IRR, and all issuance of the Commission. So the personal data being processed by a government agency shall be stored in a data center, which may be or may not owned and controlled by such agency. A data center refers to a centralized repository, physical or virtual, analog or digital, used for the storage, management, and dissemination of data, including personal data. So all personal data that are digitally processed must be encrypted, whether at rest or in transit. The Commission recommends advanced encryption standard with a key size of 256 bits as the most appropriate encryption. Password or passphrases used to access personal data should be at sufficient strength to deter a password attack. A password policy should be issued and enforced through a system management tool. Okay, the security requirements. For the online access of personal data, agency or school personnel who access personal data online shall authenticate their identity by a secured encrypted link and must use multi-factor authentication. Their access rights must be defined and controlled by a system management tool or a software system that facilitates the administration of user passwords and access rights. For paper-based filing system, if personal data is stored in paper files or physical media, the government agency shall maintain a log from which it can be ascertained which file was accessed, including when, where, and by whom. Such log shall also include or indicate whether copies of the file were made agency management regularly review the log records, including all applicable process. Can a third-party service provider be engaged in the disposal of personal data? Yes. Note, however, that the service provider shall contractually agree to the agency's data protection procedures and ensures that the confidentiality of all personal data is protected. Are there penalties for violations of the provision of NPC Circular number 2016-1? Upon notice in hearing, violations are subject to compliance and enforcement orders, cease and desist orders, temporary or permanently ban of the processing of personal information, or payment of fines in accordance with a schedule to be published by the Commission. Failure to comply with the provision of the said may be ground for administrative and discrimination sanction against any hearing public officer or employee. So what are the National Privacy Commission 5 pillars of compliance? Of course, the Data Privacy Officer, the PIA, the PMP, PDP, and the BRP. This will be the 5 pillars of compliance in National Privacy Commission. So what are the 5 pillars of data privacy, accountability, and compliance? For the pillar, of course, appoint a DPO, conduct a privacy impact assessment, have a privacy management program, and codify it into a privacy manual. So the school are required to have a privacy manual. Implement data privacy and protection measures anytime, anywhere. Exercise breach reporting procedures. So if there are certain problems or happens with regards to data privacy issues in concern, the agency are required to exercise breach reporting procedures. So, what are the tips in crafting your privacy notice? A privacy notice aims to empower the public. Okay? It is meant to tell individuals what, how, and why personal data is being collected from them. As such, privacy notices should be highly readable to be usable and effective. However, recent researches reveal that only a few actual read privacy notices. So with the average privacy notice taking 10 minutes to read, at most 42 minutes, it is no surprise that only 16% of the internet users take the time to read them, based on the Internet Society's Global Internet User Survey. The figure may even be lower in the Philippines, where the concept of data privacy is just emerging. The prompted the National Privacy Commission to compile the following tips on how to effectively craft your privacy notice. It must be easy to read, of course. Privacy notices should be concise and written in a plain language as you write for a diverse audience. A segment of your audience may not be familiar with data privacy. Thus, it is important to communicate the content clearly. So to keep notices brief, you may use a layered approach. So the privacy notice should be the first, shortest, and simplest layer that is intended for consumers. The next layer should be the full privacy policy or the privacy management manual that uses standards, legalized, and has all details including the technical information. Hyperlink the term in the notice to a definition. Maximize the second layer to fully explain technical terms mentioned in the privacy notice. The notice should be simple, straightforward, direct, affirmative, and respectful. Use short sentences and active voice, which are easier to understand. If you are enumerating several items, use bullet points. Each section of the notice should have an informative headings to accurately describe what follows. Another thing, of course, is that it must be transparent. To reduce legal risk, privacy commitments in your notices should be aligned with your actual privacy practices. Various resources reveal that while notices should try to avoid using bold statements, they should not also be too generic. Notices should cover both current and prospective privacy practices, which necessitates strategic planning involving everyone in organic. The key is to conduct factual and legal due diligence. According to the International Association of Privacy Professionals, factual due diligence allows you to determine what information your organization uses. The legal due diligence allows you to determine what laws govern the use of that information. Conducting a privacy impact assessment may help you achieve due diligence. Compelling. Gaining public trust has been considered a barrier to continued growth among public and private organizations offering products and services. Online consumer spending only accounts for about 1.7% of overall retail revenues due to this barrier, among others. Thus, it is important to maximize the use of privacy notice to increase your trustworthiness among your clients. To make a privacy notice compelling, it should instantly show what is in it for your clients. A minimum, it should highlight the types of personal information you collect, how you use it, how you protect it, how your clients can access and correct their personal information, and how they can contact you. You may use this template to map up and analyze your personal data collection and processing. Some questions goes like this. What does Data Privacy Act say about retention of personal data? So in Chapter 3, Section 11E, General Data Privacy Principle of Data Privacy Act of 2012, personal information must be retained only for as long as necessary for the fulfillment of the purpose for which data was obtained. Okay, so of course, for the fulfillment of the declared, specified and legitimate purpose, or when the processing relevant to the purpose has been terminated. For the establishment, exercise, or defense of legal claims, for legitimate business purposes, which must be consistent with the standard followed by the applicable industry or approved by appropriate government agency, and in any case provided by law. How about what are my responsibility when retaining personal data? As an organization that or schools that retains personal data, they are responsible for to be clear about how long you will retain personal data and its reason, to ensure quality of the data being retained, to ensure the security of the archived personal data, to ensure restricted access to personal data, and to give access and inform the data subjects about their data being retained. What does Data Privacy Act say about disposal of personal data? So Rule 4, Section 19D, General Principle in Collection, Processing and Retention of the Implementing Rules and Regulations states that personal data shall be disposed or discarded in a secure manner that would prevent further processing, unauthorized access, or disclosure to any other party or public or prejudice the interest of the data subjects. Disposal of personal data stored off-site. Organization can engage third-party service providers to carry out the disposal of personal data under its control or custody provided that the service provider shall contractually agree to the agency's data protection procedures and ensure that the confidentiality of personal data is protected. For the questions, what are my responsibility when disposing personal data? It is the organization's duty to make sure that the data will be disposed properly in a way that the data should be unreadable or irretrievable for digital records. The organization should categorize whether the data they have are high risk or low risk. It is recommended that the appropriate data disposal method be used. Okay, for your question, and I will entertain your question. Just simply posted your question to our, you just simply post your question to our chat box. Okay, and I will entertain your questions. Okay, so while there are somebody who are presenting, I will answer all your questions. So once again, thank you very much and God bless everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Melo. Okay, guys, you still there? Buhay pa ba kayo?
Yes.
Po.
Nice.
Yes po.
Okay. Wait lang natin yung next speaker. Nagre-ready pa.
Buhay pa po kami.
Wala akong pakape.
Ito.
Penge.
Okay, our next speaker, I will introduce you Dr. Maryjoy Abueg de los Trinos. Miss Maryjoy Abueg is an assistant professor the third of Palawan State University. She served as a chairperson of Computer Science and Information Technology Department, ICT Director of Information and Communications Technology Office, and ICT Incubator Manager of Palawan International Technology Business Incubator and Startup Hub at Palawan University. She formerly served as the Dean of College of Information and Communications Technology at Holy Trinity University. She is a member of Euro-Philippine Standards Technical Committee on Information Technology Subcommittee on IT for Learning, Education and Training of the Department of Trade and Industry, and serves as member of Commission on Higher Education, National Pool of Technical Assessors for Information Technology Program, and test the accredited competency assessor. She served as technical committee of the Government Academic Industry Network in partnership with Commission of Higher Education and Lyceum of the Philippines University, Batangas, for the English Roadmap of Philippines for Common English Framework Roadmap. Ms. Abueg is a Commission on Higher Education K-12 Transition Scholar for a Doctor in Information Technology at Technological Institute of the Philippines, Manila. She served her Master in Management major in Information Technology from Philippine Christian University in 2011, Doctor of Education and Doctor of Management in Lego Baccalaureus or Bachelor of Law in Palawan State University and graduate of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from the Holy Trinity University. Ms. Abueg is an author of 5 information technology books under Unlimited Books Library Services and Publishing Inc. in Jamesville Publications. She presented local and international researches on the following field: technology incubator, technology commercialization, model development, data mining, information theory, and data analysis such as reliability, validity, correlation, and regression analysis. Currently, she is the president of Palaweño ICT Association, vice president of the National ICT Confederation of the Philippines, and board member of the Philippine Society of IT Educators. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Maryjoy Abueg de los Trinos. Doc Mary.
Good morning. My topic is about computer ethics and intellectual property rights. So let's move on first with the subtopics. So we will discuss first more on computer ethics, what is ethics, morals, and law, and then the code of ethics and privacy issues and concern. Then we will talk about intellectual property right of the Philippines, then which regards on Philippine law on intellectual property, or the RA 8293. Then we will discuss further about patent, copyright, utility model, industrial design, trademarks, and geographical indicators. So first, what is ethics? So it is merely the study of moral, legal, and social issues. So some says the society is a set of rules that establish boundaries of generally accepted behavior. So some are in the form of moral code, and ethics is a set of belief about what is right and wrong behavior. And ethical behavior conforms to generally accepted social norms, many of which are almost universals. So there is also a virtues or habits that incline people to do what is acceptable, and vices are habits of unacceptable behavior. So people's virtues and vices help define the virtue system in the complex scheme of moral values which they give. So there are some areas that can be ethical in our area or in our country, and some are unethical in other country. So there are ethical in some of the belief, and some there are also unethical in some of the belief. So let's discuss first, what's the difference between ethical and legal? So there can be ethical but not legal. There can be legal but ethical, or not legal but not ethical. So let's distinguish first. When we say ethics, these are moral philosophy guiding human conduct. The right versus wrong, a good behavior, or maybe abstract, individual and professional guidelines. So violation of these ethics are not usually punished. However, in the law, it is a rules governing society, which is also based on ethics, a codification of certain ethical values. It is a government administered, written in law and regulations, of course, punishable with fines or imprisonment. And intent is to maintain peace and order in the society. So that's the difference between the law and the ethics. So how about ethics versus moral? So when we say, we all know that ethics refers to the rules that social system provides us with. So how about morals? When we say morals, it is more on our own principles. So that is the difference between ethics and morals. So it is said that in most cases, when any one of us does something, we try to act according to what society believes is right. More often, we listen closely to what our belief about right or wrong are telling us. Even if they different from society views, these two have two different ethic and morals. Okay, let's cite, for example, in one of the tribes in Philippines. For us, so in the law, you should marry at the age of 18 or 21 years old. So according to our law. But in other tribes here in the Philippines, once you reach 12, you can be married. You can marry. Okay. So is it morally right? No, it's not morally right when it comes to Christianity, but in their tribe, it is morally right and it is ethical. But to us, it is not morally right, it is ethical. And to our law, the required age to marry is 18 years old. So that's the difference between ethics, moral, and the law. So we have the professional codes of ethics. So each professional organization has its own code. The ACM, or the Association of Computing Machinery, Association of Computing Machinery, Also, the Association of Information Technology Professionals, or what they call AITP. So they have different code of ethics. Also, the Computer Society of Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineer. So they also have their own code of ethics. The Project Management Institute also have their own code of ethics. So I know we are all familiar when we are having our subject computer ethics. We have the 10 commandments of computer ethics as a student, right? So what really is a computer ethics? It's a set of moral standards that govern the use of computers. So it is a society view about the use of computers, both hardware and software. So it is more on privacy concern, intellectual property rights, and effects on the society are more of the common issues of the computer ethics. Now, computer ethics consists of 4 primary issues. 1 is the privacy, 2, accuracy, 3, property, 4 is the access. So it is also discussed to you by Dr. Marmelo Abante about the privacy, the responsibility to protect data about individuals. Can be juridical person or an individual. So let's move on to the accuracy. It is responsibility of data collectors to authenticate information and ensure its accuracy. That also tackled in our Data Privacy Act. Property. So who owns the information and software, and how can they be sold and exchanged? So we have a lot of enterprise software. So who owns the software? So sometimes other school choose to use an open source software so that they will not be charged of intellectual property infringement. Then access. Responsibility of data collectors to control access and determine what information a person has a right to obtain about others and how information can be used. So that is access. These are the privacy concerns that we have in computer ethics. One is hacking. We all know that hacking can be ethical and not ethical. So there are ethical hackers and unethical hackers. So it is an unlawful intrusion into a computer or a network. A hacker can intrude through a security levels of computer system or network that can acquire unauthorized access of computers. And then malware. So these are the malicious software that is created to impair computer systems. So common to us are the viruses, the spyware, the worms, and the Trojan horses. So these viruses that delete files from a hard drive, while a spyware can collect data from a computer. Next, another privacy issue and concerns is data protection, as discussed to you a while ago, which includes the Data Privacy Act 10175. And we also have law in terms of cybercrime. So be careful of doing all these cybercrimes. So we also have a law governing the cybercrime. Then anonymity is a way of keeping a user's identity masked through a various application. So those are some of the privacy concerns and issues when it comes to computer ethics. So in the Philippines, we have government agency mandated for the data privacy, which is the National Privacy Commission of Department of Information and Communications Technology. You can see them in privacy.gov.ph, as well as the cybercrimes in the Philippines, which is the Cyber Investigation and Coordinating Center, or what they called as the CICC. So, which was created upon the approval of Republic Act 10175 about Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. So it is attached again, once again, in the DICT, or what we call the Department of Information and Communications Technology, and is chaired by the DICT Secretary. Now, the DICT Secretary is Secretary Gringo Honasan. Now, what if I have complained about cybercrime? My account is being hacked. My account, or there is an identity theft happened. So what will I do? So this is what the DOJ tell us about how to report a cybercrime, or what we call the Department of Justice in the Philippine government. So first, who may file a complaint? If you are private individuals, can be minor or of legal age. Then juridical entities, when we say juridical entities, can be private institution, can be government, so, and quasi-public. So last is the enforcement authorities who can file those complaints about cybercrime is the Philippine National Police, the NBI, or the Office of Cybercrime. So simply ask, what are you going to do in order for you to file? So these are the incident and offenses. Make sure that these incidents and offenses are present from A to D, such as the following. So offenses against confidentiality, integrity, and availability of computer data systems. So what are those? The illegal access, illegal interception, data interference, system interference, misuse of device, and cyber squatting. So computer-related offenses like computer-related forgery, fraud, and identity theft. So as a student, be careful to post all your government IDs in your social media, so or else you can be one of the victim of this computer-related identity theft. Another one is the content-related offenses, which is the cyber sex, child pornography, and libel. Libel, cyber libel. For example, one of the person tell lies about you. So in social media, that is what we call libel. So be careful of also posting your photos of children, especially when they are minors. So some of our, remember the post of drop your beautiful daughter challenge? So some of the parents post their kids, which are 1-year-old, 2-year-olds, all naked. So we don't have malice because these are children. So we posted them on internet. And yet there are cases that they found out that the photos of their children was used for pornography sites. The photos of their children or the young kids were used for pedophile sites. So these are the sample of issues when it comes to child pornography and cyber sex. So other offenses like aiding or abetting in the commission of cybercrime, attempt in the commission of cybercrime. So what are you going to do in order for you to complain? So first, you need to make a complaint affidavit in a sworn statement. Then attach the evidence that support your claim, such as the screenshot of the situation, screenshot of the actual consummated act, like screenshot in your social media of the actual consummated act against this cyber crime. Okay, next. So now we're done with the computer ethics. So part of the computer ethics is intellectual property. So what is intellectual property? So it is said that it refers to the creation of the mind. So it can be invention, patent, utility model, a design, or what we call the industrial design. Then a brand can be trademark or literary artwork or artistic work, or what we call the copyright. So the term intellectual property rights consists of first the computer copyright and related rights, then the trademark and service mark, geographical indicators, industrial design, and patent. So this is according to the law on intellectual property rights of the Philippines. So each country has its own code, has its own law when it comes to intellectual property right. So what really is a copyright? So copyright is a legal protection, so extended to the owner of the rights in an original work. The original work refers to every production in literary, scientific, and artistic domain. So it grants the author, artists, and other creators automatic protection for their literary and artistic creation from the moment they created it. For example, you created a drawing that is automatically protected with a copyright from the moment you created the drawing. So that is copyright. So what is the term of the protection when it comes to copyright? So artistic work and derivative works is generally the lifetime of the author plus 50 years. So which means, for example, you created a music or a song, that is already copyright once you created it, and the lifetime will be your life, and then plus another 50 years once the person is already, let's say, dead, or once the person died, it has plus 50 years. So after 50 years, it is already not protected by a copyright. That's why, as you can see, there are a lot of pictures, or like the photo of Mona Lisa, it is now not already protected by a copyright because it has number of years already. Imagine Michelangelo, from the life of Michelangelo, then after 50 years, so that is protected by a copyright. So since it's not after 50 years, so it's open, not already protected by a copyright. But however, in the other country, copyright is protected up to 70 years, 100 years, okay? So these are the example of copyrights: the books and novels, poems, reference work, newspaper, the advertisement, in musical compositions. So some are computer programs, databases, films, choreography, paintings, drawings, photographs, sculpture, architecture, map, and technical drawings. So remember that these are also, that advertisement and commercials are also protected by a copyright. So every time, sometimes when they created a commercial or advertisement, they pay the owner what music they use and all the rights that are protected in the advertisement. Okay, what about trademark? So we all know about trademark. It is also common to us. So we also see the letter TM. TM means trademark. So it is a word, a group of words, sign, symbols, logo, or a combination thereof that identifies and differentiates the source of goods or services of one entity from those others. So a trademark protects a business what they call the brand identity in the marketplace. So what are the period of protection for trademark? So trademark protection is 10 years from the date of issuance and renewable period for another 10 years. So once you register your trademark, so that is 10 years, and renewable again, you can renew the trademark for another 10 years. Okay, next, these are the examples of trademark. So the famous trademarks, okay, so those are the trademarks here in the Philippines, available in the Philippines. So remember, the first one to file, even though you're using the same trademark, but the first one to file is has the right and the owner of that particular trademark. So let's say, for example, the Jollibee. In China, they use Jollibee, but a different photo and a different spelling of Jollibee, but that is in other country. So if you file in the Philippines, you only protected within the scope of the Philippines. So for example, if you want to sue the Jollibee trademark that is copied by Chinese in a different spelling, in a different photo. So, but if you don't file your intellectual property right or copyright in China, you cannot sue that particular business or entity. So remember, that is also based on different based on different countries. That's why, for example, Apple, Samsung, or Huawei, they also file their intellectual property in different countries so that their products will be protected by intellectual property rights. So what is patent? So patent is an invention, patent in a government-issued grant, bestowed an exclusive right to an inventor over the product, process that provides any technical solution to the problem in any field of human activity. It must be new. Remember, when you file patent, it must be new, inventive, and industrially applicable. So it says that new involves an inventive step, industrially applicable. So if it's not new or among this, you cannot file or apply for a patent. So the term will be how many years you are protected? 20 years from the filing of the date of application. The patent must be maintained yearly starting from the 5th year. Okay, so that's it. For example, why 20 years? Why not 50 years? Okay, that's the reason why the Philippines is also boosting inventions or encouraging inventions. So why 20 years? It is protected for 20 years so that after 20 years, if there are new inventors to innovate your work, so to give way for the new inventors to innovate your work. Okay. For example, we have the energy drink. So before, there are only one energy drink because it is protected by a patent, the Gatorade. Remember that Gatorade is used for players. So because they have problems in urinating, they have problems in after the game with their So what did the scientists did is to create an energy drink for them. So it is protected for how many years that is protected in their country. And after that, now you can see a lot of variations that innovate the Gatorade. So we have other energy drink as well, not just the Gatorade as well. Okay, so that's the reason why it is only for a minimum number of years, so that inventors can innovate your work or your invention. So look at this photo. So this is one of the example of the difference between trademark and patent. The name Advil on your left, the name Advil is the trademark. And the formulation, composition, and active ingredient inside that Advil is the patent. So that's the difference between trademark and patent according to HIPOPHIL, or Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. Then patent is responsible, or okay, this is a post-it. You post-it. The material, the adhesive sheet is the patent, and the trademark is the word, they use the word, the trademark post-it is the name of the invention. So those are the examples. Okay, let's try to annotate. How to annotate? You have there your, I want you to participate. We will use the annotate. Click the view option, then try to annotate. So I'm going to ask questions, and you just write an arrow. Okay, so let's try to click annotate. Go to view options and then click annotate. In that photo of Coca-Cola product, where is the patent? Okay, isa lang, sumagot. Where is the patent in Coca-Cola product? So that's the patent. Where is the trademark? Where is the trademark? You can circle. You can circle. Yes, correct. That's the trademark. The name of Coca-Cola, that is the trademark. Where is the trade secret? It is also a patent. Trade secret. Wow. Ang layo ah. So where is the industrial design? Correct. The whole part is the industrial design. Okay, thank you for your participation. Let's move on with our next topic. Okay, so that is the patent, the cap. So also a patent. The formula is also a patent, which is what we call the trade secret. The trademark is the Coca-Cola itself. And the industrial design is the sexy body of the Coca-Cola. So let's delete all this. How to delete? Annotate. Clear. Clear our drawings. Okay, that's it. So the patent here is the cup of Coca-Cola, as well as the formula. The trademark is the name Coca-Cola. So the trade secret is also the formula, which is also part of the patent. So if you can see before, in the bottle of Coca-Cola, there is a red fill pat off, meaning Registered Philippine Patent Office. So that is what we call the reg fill pat off when we check on the Coca-Cola bottle. So now it's IPO fill, Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. The industrial design is the beautiful body, the sexy body of the Coca-Cola. So sometimes the Coca-Cola body. Okay, when we say industrial design, it is an ornamental or aesthetic aspect of an article. Design in the sense may be three-dimensional features, can be the shape or surface of an article. Two-dimensional features can be pattern or lines or colors. So handicraft, jewelries, vehicles, appliances, the subject of industrial design. So it says there, the period for protection is 5 years each by paving a 2 consecutive period of 5 years. So that can be renewable. So that can be up to 10 years. So here are the example of industrial design. Of course, the chairs cannot be patented because it is already has an original work. So the design of the chairs can be registered as the industrial design. Like the motor vehicle, the design of the motor vehicle and the other designs here are examples of the industrial design. So let's move on with the utility models. Just like inventions, it is an exclusive right granted for an invention, but it does not require the condition of involvement of inventive step to be protected. So any technical solution of a problem in any field of human activity which is new, industrially applicable, shall be registrable. So a utility model is entitled to 7 years of protection from the date of filing with no possibility of renewals. So that other invention can innovate your invention as well, other inventors. So the example of utility model, as you can see here, a Filipino inventor about the ladder, which is convertible to iron stand and chair, can be an iron stand, can be a chair, by Romulo Sanchez. Okay, so that is a utility model. So you can see here how to clip or lock the milk package, that is the utility model. Okay, from the lights using from the original one. So with this circle light with a new design, that is what you call utility model. So the inventor innovates the light bulb from another light bulb, but this light bulb can be 9 light bulbs in one with a low wattage, but the same brightness as the 9 bulbs. So this is the reason why it only protects up to the patents or protection are for 20 years. So imagine if it's not protected for 20 years, another invention cannot innovate your invention or your work. So what is geographical indicator or indication? It is a sign used on a products that have specific geographical origin, imposes qualities or a reputation that due to that origin. So in order to function as GI, a sign must identify a product as originating in a given place. In addition, the qualities, characteristics, or reputation of the product should be essentially due to the place of origin. Since the quality depends on geographical place or production, there is a clear link between the product and its original place of production. So there are products that are can be geographical indicators where it is, for example, this is in this place, they only produce cashew products. This is the original place where they produce cashew. So some of that is one of the example of geographical indicator. So the other one is the geographical indicator registered by the Visayas in one of the universities in Visayas. So they registered the shell. That shell, which can be only found in particular area in Visayas. So that shell can be used for anti-cancer. So they applied for intellectual property of that particular substance that can be found in that shell for anti-cancer ingredient. Okay, next. Meron bang sound? Okay, so since there's no... So that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening and participating in our activity.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Joy Abueg de los Tridas. Thank you for the interesting and meaningful presentation today. All right. So guys, may natutunan ba tayo? Gising pa ba kayo? Mukhang natutulog na ata.
Yes po.
Gising pa po.
Gising
King
pa po.
Babot, meron po.
Gising.
Buhay na buhay po.
Interesting, di ba?
Still alive pa po. Still
Kasi
alive pa po.
sumagot sila kanina eh.
Nabuhayan sila ng
Hooray!
Viva.
Anyway, guys, hindi na natin patatagalin, ano? Let's proceed to our third speaker today. This is Professor Ronel P. Paculanan. His academic qualifications: Doctor in Eastern Visayas, Doctor in Philosophy, major in Education, graduated year 2019. Doctor in TUP Manila, Doctor of Technology dissertation enrolled, Master AMA Computer College, MS Computer Science, Bachelor AMA Computer College, BS Computer Science. His technical competencies, certifications, certificate program, Lead Philippines Leadership in Education, Academic and Development in Manila, May 20, 2020. I-STAR, International Society of Teachers, Administration and Researcher in Thailand, May 28, 2020. Institute of Engineering Research and Publication member in India, June 30, 2018. Senior member, Royal Institute of Information Technology in Singapore, Manila, FRIT, June 30, 2018. P-CITE, Philippine Society of Information Technology Educators in Philippines, June 15, 2008. National Certification 2, Manila, Hilot, June 15, 2008. Trainers Methodology Certificate 1, Mandaluyong, TM1, June 16, 2016. National Certification 2, Taguig Computer Services System Serving, April 26, 2016. Research output: a proposed solar panel operator computer laboratory of Visayas Angel Learning. Year published January to February 2020. LPG leakage detector using Arduino with SMS alert notifications, Jakarta, Indonesia, March 19. Historical Quest VR Manila, Philippines, April 2019. Arduino Smart Assessive Cane for Visually Impaired Bangkok, Thailand, May 2019. Anti-theft Security Control Using SMS and GPRS Connection, October 2018. Social-civic extension activities. You have RCGC, the Rhythm Christian Church of School, Assistant Pastor, Head Pastor, Manila Branch, Bulacan Branch, June 2011 and present. Makati Training Programs for Senior Citizens and PWDs Coordinator, University of Makati, College of Computer Science, August 5, 2018 to September 30, 2018. Makati ICT Training Programs for Seniors, PWDs Resource Speaker, University of Manila, College of Computer Science, September 16, 2018. Awardees Merits Commendation received. Outstanding Faculty Student Evaluation, CCS UMAC from September 2018 to February 19. Outstanding Faculty Superior Evaluation, Outstanding Faculty Student Evaluation, Excellent Teacher Award, Research Involvement, International Conference of Renewable Energy and Emerging Technologies Abstract Committee, the International Conference on Innovation. Research in Science and Technology Abstract Community, PUP Research Department Review 4 papers. Webinar Involvement as Speaker. Program title, Creative Animation Using PowerPoint 1, Creative Animation Using PowerPoint 2.
Renabel.
Impressive, sir.
Okay na, introduce na.
Okay, sir. So our third speaker for today, let's introduce to you Professor Ronel P. Paculanan.
Good morning, World City Colleges. So I guess and I hope that
Good morning.
all of you are well and healthy. Thank you, Miss Maribel, for a good introduction. So I just decided to stop because I think there will be a lot of reading. So instead of doing this to consume time, so I'm going to discuss all about so what is data analysis or the introduction of this. So thank you, Dr. Marcelo Abante, for inviting me to this webinar. Okay, but please allow me to okay not to use my camera. It's just because my internet connection is so weak. I also give my presentation to the committee, so for them to uh, view the slides or the presentation. Again, thank you. And I guess the technical committee is okay now for my presentation. Can you still hear me? Am I visible? Okay, thank you. Okay, so my topic is all about the introduction to data analysis. So please, next slide. Thank you. So the objective of this is that to expose the students what is data analysis and to distinguish the data analysis model. Also, to conceptualize data analysis as process, to manage the data analysis process, and to give some sample software for data analysis. Thank you. Next slide, please. So the coverage of the topic today is all about part 1, the introduction of data analysis, part 2, data analysis method, data analysis process, and part 4, we have the data analysis technique, and lastly, we have the data analysis tools. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what you can see on the screen right now is some code coming from a known people. So number 1, we have the analysis of data will not be itself produced by ideas. So that is Edward D. Bono. So another one is the goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. So what you will notice on those quote, notice that all the information or data will give us a new insight or a new things that we may now able to use this for another, okay, invention or anything that we want to produce. So without data, you're just another person without an opinion. So it is important for us to know what is data is. Am I still uh can you still hear me? I'm going to
Yes.
ask you always just because my connection is so weak. So thank you. So what you will find out is that these quotes bring a lot of insight what we're going to discuss for today. So sinabi nga po ni Ernie Barong na knowledge is power. But how can we get knowledge? So notice that this knowledge is power. That is the outcome that we can get of having what? Of course, that is by getting the data or the information for us to become knowledgeable enough, and whatever that information is will give us power. So that's why education is very important. It's just because there will be knowledge that we can get from here, and there will be power that we can use for that information. So this webinar is very powerful. It's just because we all know that two of the speaker already discussed all about, okay, cyber security law, the same thing with what we called ethics. So the discussion is so clear that we may now able to get knowledge and we can get power from those knowledge that we have heard. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, this is an example of what we call data or information. So this is an example of a coronavirus cases worldwide. So Philippines is not yet here. So we have one, two, okay, I think that is 17. So Philippines is 19. So out of how many countries? So you will find out that this information will give us an idea or knowledge that worldwide this is the condition of the coronavirus. And then we may now able to identify and to get any information and solutions so to avoid this coronavirus. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So another example of what we call information or data. So digital around the world in January 2018. So what you can see from here is the total population worldwide. So using cell phone, using the internet, active social media user, and mobile social media user. So figures can give you information wherein we may now able to conclude that these are the things that the world are happening right now. So what you can see on this digital around the world in 2019, so the mobile user is too many, the same thing with the internet, with the total population reaches 7.6 billion. Okay, so another thing that we can see from this presentation is the chart. So besides from the number, we may also use the chart. So for us to give information as what we called data analysis. Next slide, please. Thank you. So part two. ways of thinking about data. Let me define what is data first. Data as factual information as measurement or statistic used as a basis for reasoning, discussion, or calculation. So that is under Webster Dictionary way back 1973. So another definition of data is information, especially information organized for analysis. Next slide. Thank you. So this one is a Merriam-Webster offline dictionary definition. So we have the factual information used as a basis for reasoning, discussion, or calculations. So information about by a sensing device or organ that includes both useful and irrelevant or redundant information and must be processed to be meaningful. Another definition, information in numerical form that can be digitally transmitted or processed. Next slide. So taking from the definitions given, a practical approach to defining data is that data is numbers, characters, images, or other method of recording in a form which can be accessed by to make a determination or decision about a specific action. So a while ago, we have a lot of example of what we called data. So the number is called as data, including letters, strings, names. Those are what we call data. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, this is also called as data. We have the 10 richest in the Philippines. That is according to CNN Philippines. So there is a website that we may now able to see this one. So from 1 to 10, and then according to this website also, so the own money for each of them is also included. So the same thing with the top richest celebrity. So again, this is data. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So another form of data is called as image, picture, or graph. So on this given slide, notice that we can see that there is a enrollment data. So below, you can see the courses indicating each color. The same thing with the semester and the year. So each of that has been represented with different color. And notice that every year there is a differences between the enrollment of that school. Okay. So notice on 2015, so this is not the highest enrollees, but we can see on 2016 is the highest. And then the lowest part is maybe we can see on the 2019 to 2020. So I guess that you're also expecting that 2020 and 2021 is the smallest enrollees. It's just because there are a lot of people don't have money to pay for their tuition fee. So because of what happening right now in our pandemic. Okay, next. Thank you. So we will be discussing the 7 data analysis model. So we have the qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis, text analysis, statistical analysis, diagnostic analysis, predictive analysis, and prescriptive analysis. So we will be discussing this one by one with the use of our slide. So please, thank you. Next slide. So this is a comparison between the two. So this is very common, especially every time that we have what we call the research. So the comparison between the qualitative data. and the quantitative data. So qualitative data is information that can be expressed as numbers. And then qualitative data is a data that can be expressed as number or can be quantified. So what you can see okay, so upper portion of these slides, notice that the qualitative data is there. We have the very good, good, average, and poor. And the other one is the quantitative data showing us the graph. So can data be counted under the qualitative data? The answer is no. But in the quantitative data, the answer is yes. So the type data can be word, object, picture, observation, and symbols for the qualitative data, while the quantitative data is for number and statistic. So we will be defining them one by one. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So this is the clear definition of what we call qualitative data. So this approach mainly answer questions such as why, what, or how. Each of these questions is addressed via quantitative techniques such as questionnaires, questionnaires, attitude, scaling, standard outcomes, and more. So what you can see from the given picture is the book, okay, bookcase. Under this bookcase, so we are now defining what is that bookcase is. So this is not a quant okay, this is qualitative, not quantitative. So we are now describing what is the bookcase. So this is made of wood, was built in Italy, is depth brown. So we can see the color is brown, has golden knobs, and then smells like oak. And lastly, we have has a smooth finish. So another example of what we call qualitative data, we have the happiness rating, gender, pass failed, eye color, interview transcript, categories of plants, descriptive temperature of a coffee. So we can see that this is only to describe the bookcase. Okay, next part, thank you. What about the quantitative data? So this bookcase again, we can see that there is what we call exact measurement. So let me define first what is quantitative data. On this slide, generally this analysis is measured in terms of number. So again, we can see that there is a exact measurement. So the data here present themselves in terms of measurement scales and extend themselves for more statistic manipulation. So from the bookcase again, so this is 3 feet tall. So there is a exact tall. The same thing with the weight is 100 pounds. There are 15 books inside of the bookcase. We have 3 shelves, so division, and then we have 2 cabinets, and then sell for 1,500. Another example under this quantitative data is the numerical. So the height of first grader. So the weight of sumo wrestler. So duration of red light, including age of Olympians, distance of planet, money in 401 Cape Land, and temperature of coffee. So I guess it's very clear for us what is the qualitative and quantitative data. It's just because we find out that under the qualitative data, this is only to describe something, while when we use of the quantitative data, there is an exact measurement and scales for the data itself. I guess that still we don't have question. Let's move on to number 3. So text analysis. Text analysis is a technique to analyze text, extract machine readable facts It aims to create structured data out of pre and unstructured content. So the process consists of slicing and dicing heaps of unstructured heterogeneous files into easy to read, manage, and interpret data pieces. It's also known as text mining, analytics, and information extraction. So what you can see on the other side is an example of what we call textual analysis. Okay. So everything regarding with this is to describe what is the text all about. That is text analysis. So research is also part of this text analysis wherein we have the introduction and then we also have the problem of the statement or statement of the problem, scope, delimitation. So those are the parameters when we use of chapter 1 or the introduction. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So statistical analysis. Statistical involves data collection, interpretation, and validation. So statistical analysis is the technique of performing several statistical operations to quantify the data and apply statistical analysis. So for those who are fourth year student, notice when we are doing our research, one of the part of this is the statistical analysis, wherein we may now able to interpret data. In doing this, we may use of different software analysis for your data. So we will be dealing this later on. So quantitative data involves descriptive data like survey and observation data. It also called as descriptive analysis. It includes various tools to perform statistical data such as, ayan na po, we are now using SAS and SPSS. Okay, so thank you. Next, diagnostic analysis. So the diagnostic analysis is a step further to statistical analysis to provide more in-depth analysis to answer the question. So it is also referred to as root case analysis at it is include process like data discovering, data mining, and drill down and drill through. So the diagnostic analysis is a step further to statistical analysis to provide more in-depth analysis to answer the question. It is also referred to as root case or cause analysis at is include processes like data discovery, mining, and drill down and drill through. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next slide. Predictive analysis uses historical data and feed into the machine learning model to find critical patterns and trends. So the model is applied to the current data to predict what would happen next. Notice under this, from the word predictive, we can predict whatever the data is all about. So we have the data, which is the historical data, and then we can now predict whatever the data is there. So it is very important, like for example, in your school, there is an old enrollment system. So what will happen after 2 to 3 years? Are we going to have more students? So it depends how we're going to do this. So maybe one is by marketing strategy. So for us to get more students, but in this pandemic time, notice that there are a lot of hard times or hard things happening to each and every one of us. So many organizations prepare it because of its various advantages like volume and types of data, faster and cheaper computers, easy to use software, tighter economic conditions, and a need for competitive differentiation. Okay, thank you. Next slide. We are now on the prescriptive analysis. So, prescriptive analysis suggests various courses of action and outline what the potential implication could be reached after predicting analysis. So, after predicting, so we may now able to do prescriptive. So, just like when you are going to hospital and they find out that you have a disease like this, so they will be prescribing you a medication. So the same thing in the business world. So after predicting, there will be a prescriptive analysis. What we're going to do after that we find out that this is the data. So prescriptive analysis, gathering automated decision or recommendation requires specific and unique algorithmic and clear direction from those utilizing the analysis techniques. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we go now to data analysis process. So once you set out to collect data for analysis, you are overwhelmed by the amount of information that you find to make a clear, concise decision. So decision making will be there. It's just because we find out that we're done with predictive and prescriptive. So what we're going to do, we just need to decide. So it is in your hand what you're going to do in your life. So like for example, so this is a lifetime or life example wherein if someone is courting you, especially if you're a girl, so are we going to select this one or select this one? So that's why if you are a programmer, there is always if then else. So if then else allow us to select whatever that we want to. So that is decision making. So the same thing in data analysis or data analysis process, there is a decision making. So read so much data to handle. You need to identify relevant data for your analysis to derive accurate conclusion and make informed decision. So the following step help you identify and sort out your data for analysis. So we have number one, data requirement specification, followed by data collection, data processing, data analysis, infer and interpret result. So when we say data requirement specification, we just need to define your scope. So define short and straightforward question, the answer to which you finally need to make a decision. Another is to define measurement parameter. So regarding of that particular research, so define which parameter you take into the account and which one you are willing to negotiate. So define your unit or measurement. So give an example, time, currency, salary, and more. So notice on this portion, we are now defining whatever that we want to. Of course, after the data requirement specification, collection of data are needed. So data based on your measurement parameter. So collect data from database, website, and many other sources. So this data may not be structured or uniform, which take us to the next step. So it is very important for us to collect data. So collecting data allowing us to define whatever that we want to, and at the same time we can see the rejection of those website or data because it is not needed. So that is part of data requirements and data collection. So of course, after that we have the data processing. So organize your data and make sure to add side note if any. Cross check data with reliable sources and then convert the data as per the scale of measurement you have defined earlier, and at the same time exclude irrelevant data. So it's very important for us to know what your data is. So we are not only using one website or even two websites. So when we are comparing the data, we must have at least 5 to 10 website or 5 to 10 books. So most of the students are only using one, two, or three, but instead we may use of more than that. So after that, we have now the data analysis. So data analysis, once you have collected your data, perform sorting, plotting, and identifying correlations. So as you manipulate and organize your data, you may need to traverse your step again from the beginning, where you may need to modify your question, redefine parameters, and reorganize your data. Make sure of the different tools available for data analysis. And lastly, we have now the infer and interpret result. So result is very important in a research. So that's why we are doing some of the statistical formulas for us to get the result. So review if the result answer our initial question. Review if you have considered all parameters for making decision. So review if there is any hindering factor for implementing the decision. So close data visualization techniques to communicate the message better. So these visualization techniques may be in the form of graph, chart, color coding, and more. So once you have an interference, always remember it is only a hypothesis. Real life scenarios may always interfere with your result. In the process of data analysis, there are a few related terminologies that identify with the different phases of process. Okay, of course, we have the data mining and data modeling. So data mining is the process involving methods in finding patterns in the data sample, while the data modeling, this is referred to how an organization organize and manage its data. Let's move on to the next part. Okay, data analysis techniques. What you can see here is only three. So there are different techniques for data analysis depending the question at hand, the type of data, and the amount of data gathered. It focuses on strategy of taking onto the new data. So mining insight and drilling down into the information to transfer facts and figures into decision-making parameters. Okay, so there are three things that we need to understand regarding with data based on mathematical and statistical. Okay, data analysis. So we have number one, we are now using technical based on mathematics and statistics. So we all know what is mathematics and statistics. So most of you really once doing mathematics problem or statistical problem. So on this technique, okay, we have number one, descriptive analysis. So a while ago, we discussed what is descriptive analysis. So take into account the historical data, key performance indicator, and describe the performance based on a chosen benchmark. It takes into account past trends and how they might influence future performance. So on this portion of the descriptive analysis under the technique based on mathematics and statistics, so we can find out that there is a key performance and indicator. So from there, we may now able to describe, okay, the things that we want to do after collecting and analyzing that particular data. Of course, we have number two, dispersion analysis is the area and to reach a data is spread. So this technique allows the data analysis to determine the variability of the factor under study. Regression analysis is also part of this. So factor analysis, discriminant analysis, and time series analysis. So most of this analysis is statistic. So we will not discuss all of this now. It's just because we all know that it will take time when we discuss one by one. So I have only, I think, 1 hour. Okay. So, but let me define what is regression analysis. So these techniques works by modeling the relationship between a dependent variable and one or more independent variable. A regression model can be linear, multiple, logistic, rich, nonlinear, live data, and more. So under factor analysis, the techniques helps to determine if there exists any relationship between a set of variables. So I am now only defining the different types of mathematics and statistic techniques. And lastly, we have the time series analysis. In this kind of analysis, measurement are spanned across time, which give us a collection of organization data known as the time series. So number two is, I sorry, please proceed to the next slide. No, not that one. Okay, that one. The previous slides, sir. Thank you. Previous slide. Okay, that one. Data analysis techniques. So number two is technique based on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So a while ago, we are now using all about mathematics and statistics. Those are familiar with and expert in mathematics and stat, but this time around, computer science. This is more on logic. So when we say artificial neural network, so we have now a neural network is a, okay, so is a biological inspired programming paradigm. So that represent a brain metaphor for processing information. So an artificial neutral network is a system that changes its structure based on information that flow through the network. So the artificial network or neutral network can accept noisy data and are highly accurate, can be considered highly dependable in business clarification and forecasting application. So, okay, okay. So we also have, thank you for some of the information given from the chat. Okay, decision trees. And then we also have evolutionary programming. So these techniques combine the different types of data analysis using evolutionary algorithm. So this is a domain independent techniques which can be explored. Ample search space and manage attribute interaction very efficiency. Okay, and lastly, we have the technique based on visualization and graph. So every time that we want to easily understand what is your table all about, we can use of the graph. So for us to visualize, so just like I gave you a while ago, an example of this. So the graph or this table can easily be understood rather than using the text format. Of course, we all know what is column chart, bar chart, line chart, including the area chart, the pie chart, the panel chart, the word cloud chart, and the Gantt chart. Ayan. So every time that we have what we call the research or thesis, there is always a Gantt chart. Am I right? WCC? I guess that yes, before we are doing this, there is always a Gantt chart. So thank you for answering. So Gantt chart shows the actual timing and progress of activity in comparison to the requirements. Okay. Okay, that is what we call a Gantt chart. So it is very important for us to know the progress of your activity. Where is your activity now? So the professor or teacher also always look for your Gantt chart. So every time that you have a progress. So the documentation is also there, the progress of your software since that we are technical people. So we may able to see the progress of your system. So besides from the Gantt chart, we also have the different charts. So let me discuss some of these. So we are familiar with the column and by bar chart. Both these charts are used to present numerical differences between categories. So the column chart takes the height of the column to reflect the differences. So when we use offline chart, so this chart is used to represent the change of data over a continuous interval of time. The same thing with the other chart. Okay, so let me proceed. So this will be the last part. So I guess that I could not be able to consume 1 hour. So let me have the last part, data analysis tool. So we all know when we use of data analysis tool, so this is the analysis tool available in the market nowadays. Okay, yan. So nakakatuwa naman po ang ating mga messages sa church. Siguro mga fourth year po sila. Okay, so they are all familiar with this already. Of course, so the most common of that data analysis tool is Excel. So Excel has a variety of compelling features and with additional plugin installed. So it can be handle a massive amount of data. So if you have data does not come near the significant data margin, then Excel can be a very versatile tool for data analysis. Okay, so W is one of these also under BI tools category made for the sole purpose of data analysis. So this is also the pivot table and pivot chart can work toward representing data in the most user-friendly way. In additionally has a data cleaning features along with brilliant analytic function. So number 3, we have the Power BI. It initially started as a plugin for Excel, but later on detached from it to develop in one of the most data analysis tools. It comes in 3 various versions. So we have the free, the pro, and the premium. So its Power Pivot and DAX languages can implement sophisticated advanced analytics similar to writing Excel formulas. So it almost the same thing with the Excel when it comes to doing formula. And then we have the refined reports. So comes with a straightforward drag and drop operation. So rich help to design various styles of report and build a data decision analysis system. It can be directly connect to all kinds of database, and its format is similar to that of Excel. And we are all familiar with Python. And Python is one of the programming language or scripting language that we may now able to do data analysis. It also provide what we call a graphics for your data. The same thing with the R programming. So these are programming languages which are very powerful and flexible. R is the best at statistical analysis such as normal distribution, cluster classification algorithm, and regression analysis. It also performs individual predictive analysis like information to transform facts and figures into decision-making parameters. Okay. And then we also have the SAS. So SAS is also a programming language for data analytic and data manipulation, which can easily access data from any source. SAS has introduced a broad set of customer profiling product for web, social media, and marketing analysis. It can be predict their behavior, manage, and optimize communication. So these are the tools that we may now able to use for your data analysis. So there are a lot of more, but these are only few of them. So I guess that especially the fourth year students here has a lot of data analysis tools that they are using right now. So besides from those six that I have mentioned a while ago. Okay. And okay, lastly, as part of the conclusion, next slide, please. Okay, so data analysis is the key to any business. So it is very important for us to have a data analysis first before we do a business. So like for example, if we're going to put up a business, first thing that we need to do is to okay, collect all the data needed and we can analyze and predict what will happen to our business. If there is business already, you just need to analyze your data and prediction will be there after analyzing data. Whether it be starting up a new venture, making marketing decision, continuing with a particular course of action, or going for a complete shutdown. And so we can see now that there is the word complete shutdown. So why? So nowadays that a lot of what we call pandemic times. So notice that a lot, I think a lot of schools closed already in Cavite. So because of the analysis that they get from their data. Okay, that is what we call shutdown. So the inferences and the statistical probabilities calculated from data analysis help to base the most critical decision by ruling out all human bias. Differential analytical tools have overlapping functions and different limitations. So it's up to you what analytical tools that you may now able to use for your needs. But they are also complementary tools. Before choosing a data analytic tools, it is essential to take into account the scope of work, infrastructure's limitations, economic feasibility, and the final report to be prepared. Okay, as a conclusion, it is very important for us to use a data analysis before make things happen. So thank you. So these are the references and thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Ronel Paculanan. And we're going to proceed now to our fourth speaker. Hindi na natin patatagalin. Our fourth speaker for today is Mr. Caleb Jan A. Nicolas. He currently working as a country executive overseeing marketing aspect of Wacom here in the Philippines. Work with international brands like Wacom, Seagate, Lenovo, and Motorola in pushing their products in the Philippines. Computer proficient in all of MS Office application, Adobe application, and the DaVinci video editor. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Caleb Jan A. Nicolas.
Hello, good afternoon. Sorry, it's morning pa pala. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Caleb Jan Nicolas. So thank you so much, Renabel, for introducing me. So as mentioned by Renabel, I'm Caleb Jan Nicolas. So I'm currently handling Wacom in all of the marketing aspects here in Philippines. So today I'm going to discuss the industry since Doc Melo and also Doc Joy and also Sir discuss rin kanina regarding the data privacy and all, tsaka yung data analysis natin. Now, let's combine it and before we close this session for today. So what we're going to discuss is more of the industry in the graphic design and also the e-learning right now during this pandemic in 2020. So, okay, I'm going to share my screen right now. Saan natin audio? All right, so can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, so good. So before we start and also understand rin yung graphic design and also e-learning, we have to first look kung ano ba yung Philippine industry ngayon this 2020 since it's currently very unfortunate kasi na that we have this pandemic and almost all of the industry here in Philippines are very much affected. But I'm also going to show you guys ano ba yung pinaka-affected the industry and ano yung pinaka may plus or nagigain ngayon ng by a large margin sa industry. Okay, so as mentioned, ang pinaka-naapektuhan natin na industry is sa tourism and leisure. So this includes all the travels, tsaka yung paggala natin in other countries, and even locally. And also the most industry that has growth is the medical supplies and services. So syempre, while combating the pandemic, the COVID-19, one of the most industry na kailangan talaga ng workforce and may growth talaga is yung medical supply. But today, we're going to focus on the education and also with the ICT. So currently, e-education, just like what we have today, is somewhat sobrang affected din during the pandemic since on the education, it requires yung mga university and schools to transition on e-learning. And also, some private schools then, as I've learned that there are a lot of private schools that didn't open due to the pandemic since hindi rin nila kayang sustain yung utilities expense nila and also pasweldohan yung mga teachers, which sometimes also affect rin yung incomes ng mga teachers natin right now. And another key factors that I would like to highlight is the Zoom. So we're very familiar with Zoom. Zoom became the most downloaded and used program here in Philippines, not just here in Philippines, I mean, but also worldwide since it was used on e-education, on e-meeting, especially on the businesses, and also it wins against Google Meet, Skype by a large margin. So a very good proof of this is yung ginagawa natin ngayon that we're having this kind of discussion together with World City College through Zoom. And also, as I've mentioned, one of the affected industry din na nag-grow ngayon naman compared to education is the information and communications technology or ICT. So if as you can see on this chart, it's from the Q4 of 2019, that's October to December of 2019, we have a steady growth until this quarter, which is and only by September. So if you can remember guys that pumalo yung COVID-19 natin, by the mid of Q1 and also Q2. But still, there's still a steady growth, which means it also affects din yung growth when it comes to e-commerce, on e-education, since ICT pala guys, I'm sure you're very familiar with this, pero I would like to reiterate lang din. It's a industry wherein it includes the laptops, hard drives, cell phones, and everything that when it comes to technology. So as it grows, it also affects the other industry that is very codependent with this industry. So, ayun guys, so if ever that you would like to check out na rin, you can see a lot of blogs and also articles regarding the growth of ICT for the last quarters and for the next quarter, since it's currently projected that we will be having a growth of around 40 to 50% more growth on the next following years for ICT. Kasi for sure you're also know that there's also apps and also other technologies that are being developed by Google, by Tesla, and also by a lot of other major companies na gears toward the industry talaga. So even though we have this pandemic, hindi pa rin matatawaran talaga yung growth ng ICT natin. Okay, so dito tayo papasok. So currently, I'm working as a marketing manager nga sa Wacom. Pero I would like to introduce muna what is the brand or who is Wacom. So technically, Wacom was founded in Japan last July 12 of 1983. And their only goal is to provide a paperless technology that can help yung mga artists natin to transition from traditional to digital medium of drawing. So as time goes by, we had this technology that we patent, so which na-discuss rin ng Miss Joy. So pinatent namin technology na to na in-invent sa Japan, which is called electromagnetic resonance or EMR. So as time goes by, this technology was used by Lenovo, by Samsung, and a lot of different brands. For sure, you guys are very familiar with Samsung Note. So Samsung Note, this is a kind of device ng Samsung na merong stylus. So yung stylus na to, is just a quick trivia lang din guys. The stylus of Samsung was made by Wacom. So kung makikita nyo din, di ba, yung stylus lang, it provides din yung pressure sensitivity. What is pressure sensitivity before anything else? Pressure sensitivity, ito yung, it's the measurement of the thickness and also the thinness of the nagagawa mong line when you try to stroke yung stylus. Kasi di ba, for sure, nakagamit tayo lahat ng MS Paint. So if you try to use your mouse to draw a line on the MS Paint, what will happen? It will only cater a very fixed na thickness ng line. But if you're using the Wacom stylus or any Wacom products, what it will give you is the measurement or variation ng thickness or yung size ng line na magagawa mo, which is very good sa mga artists na nagdo-drawing digitally. And also, another thing that Wacom, that I can proudly say about Wacom is we're the industry solution standard for the graphic industry, which means this also includes the ICT. So our technology are being used by Walt Disney, Marvel, Pixar, and Sony. So mamaya medyo mag-dig in dito tayo doon para and connect natin sa current industry. So before I go to my next slide, I'm sure you guys already watched the animations on Marvel and also for sure yung mga Avengers. If you can remember guys, hindi lahat yun was shot through a camera. It was shot or it was made through a machine or program called ZBrush 4 or sometimes on AutoCAD to make the graphics looks good on the video. So hindi na nagagawa yung through camera but they use the Wacom to do the lines and also mga artworks na ilalagay sa movies. So yun dun tayo ginagamit. Okay? So to sum up, who is Wacom? I'm going to say just three phrases. Or three sentences. It's we dream forward alive with creativity. We inspire and equip people to make a world a better place, world a more creative place, and also we're a company for a creative world. So ayun nga guys, Wacom was founded talaga for the artist. But during this pandemic talaga, I'm going to discuss you what's the next na landscape or timeline na gustong gawin ng Wacom on the current industry trend ngayon sa Philippines and worldwide. Okay, so Wacom utility and convenience. So I'm going to play a video. Okay, sige, let's dig in deep dun sa digital design and graphic arts na under ng industry ng ICT. So, so how can I explain the graphic industry here in Philippines or on worldwide scope? So, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with BPO companies such as Teleperformance, ano pa ba, AFNI. So it converges. So technically, these BPO companies are companies that is based here in Philippines, but all of their operations, tsaka yung they're saying that they're also from the from other countries. Kasi the companies, for example, in US are asking for a workforce, but they're asking for a more less na salary. So what they're going to do is to do an offsite or outsource ng workforce from other countries. So dito papasok yung mga BPO companies. So ba't ko nga ba in-explain yung BPO industry natin? So it's the same thing with the graphic industry or graphic design industry. Kasi for example, si Marvel, they're not fully doing all the arts and also all the clips na i-release nila on their movies, only on their studios. Kasi what they're going to do is ask for an outsourced workforce from other countries for them to do the clips na hindi nila kayang gawin sa kanilang studios. So to be honest with you guys and also to give you a perspective, almost all of the movies ng Marvel and sabihin natin Disney and other big animation studios are all the most 50 to 60% of their clips are made here in Philippines. So siguro yung mga students rin nanonood ng Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z was made here in Philippines. It was outsourced from Japan here in Philippines para gawin yung other animations nila. So technically guys, what I'm saying is during this pandemic, even though almost all of us are working from home, a lot of the animation studios here in Philippines doesn't really being affected ever since they are working either on their home or on their animation studios. But right now, due to lahat ng mga tao nandun sa bahay nila, they're consuming a lot of digital goods such as videos sa mga YouTube. Tumataas din yung demand for graphic arts, which means andun yung demand for more artists, na mga creative artists such as mga Filipinos. So just to show you some pictures nga pala, this is came from some of the freelance artists here in Philippines that are KOLs or key opinion leaders of Wacom. So they're actually doing a lot of stuff So they're doing animation and graphic designs for very big companies. So on this next slide, this is one of the senior creative artists of Disney. So for sure, you guys watch the Big Hero 6, the Lilo and Stitch. So he's the one who do that. So actually he's one of the team. So he's actually a background design artist that is doing a lot of the graphics for Disney and Pixar's. So nevertheless, guys, andun tayo sa ICT industry. But even though we have this pandemic, what I'm saying is the graphic industry are still continue to grow because of the Filipino and some mga artists are very talented to do that works. So if you guys are not yet sure kung ano ba yung kukunin din natin na course, for example, when going to college, siguro maybe you can also consider doing the graphic arts if it's really your passion. Kasi no one is stopping you naman eh. Almost all of the artists are not sabihin natin, even though they have a education, but they doesn't really have sometimes formal education, sometimes it's self-taught lang din. So it will all come down to your passion kung gusto mo tayo i-pursue yung pagiging artist. So if you have that, I think Wacom will be the best bet na makakasama mo on your creative journey. So after discussing the graphic industry, so we're going to discuss naman, sorry, before I forgot pala. So just also to mention you guys that there's a constant na demand for freelance work and also digital arts na mga works. So this is Fiverr. So Fiverr is a freelance site na maybe some of the students are already using this if you're doing a freelance work. So we have the Upwork, Fiverr, ano pa ba, Freelancer na mga website wherein dito ito yung platforms na ginagamit ng mga freelancers natin. So if you type any related jobs to graphic arts or graphic design, there will be a lot of demand or asking for a work. So we have the services available. So even though na sobrang dami nga ng mga artists natin, pero hindi pa rin tayo mauubusan ng works dyan. So as I mentioned, it's continued to grow on the next quarter on the graphic arts and industry. So it's just another keynote that you can consider, guys. So let's move on e-learning. So as I've mentioned kanina, di ba, education is one of the most affected talaga ng industry sa Philippines. So sometimes andun din yung napapanood rin natin sa mga news that there are a lot of remote na mga schools that are not really adjusting on the current na platform ng learning natin. Sometimes via phone lang. And also andun din yung hirap. For sure, I understand yung mga teachers natin that the comfort of teaching in classroom are very much different in teaching from home. So it's also the same with students. So there's a lot of distractions and sometimes the medium of teaching are not really sometimes very applicable on a e-learning setup. So I'm going to show you guys a video lang din before we start discussing the e-learning.
Teaching just got more challenging. We are learning about teaching long distance. We are learning about the day-to-day challenges facing everyone. We are remembering why we all gathered in the same room to share ideas, work on a whiteboard, and hold a pen in our hand. Now, more than ever, our passion for teaching drives us forward. We are discovering, inventing, and experimenting. We are learning about teaching. We are learning about each other. We are learning about learning.
All right, so parang may nagsalita kanina. Do you have any questions, guys? All right, sige. If ever I can answer your questions naman din if ever na may question kayo, so drop a message lang din sa chat so I can answer it right away. Okay, so continuing on our discussion, Right now, on other countries, it's very good that they're transitioning well on the e-learning. So it's because even though home setup yung learning natin ngayon, the teachers sometimes kasi I try to, if anything else pala, I try to join one class ng teacher natin dito sa Philippines. So what she did, she's actually teaching math. So andun yung struggle for sure guys, that the teacher have to show yung mismong solution sa blackboard. So it's the setup sa classroom, di ba, that yung solution or yung math problem susulat sa blackboard. And ang gagawin ng students, dun i-check, then they'll try to come up with a solution for that problem. Pero during this homeschool or home e-learning kasi, wala tayong blackboard. So sometimes yung teachers, ang ginagawa niya, she has her own whiteboard and pentel pen sa likod niya. Then she will try her best to write yung yung question or yung math problem. Pero ano ba yung challenge na nangyayari dito or yung sometimes a minor problem? We all know that not all has the same internet connection speed. So what happens, yung nakasulat sa whiteboard ni teacher, sometimes hindi siya clear o hindi masyado nakikita ng other students. So sometimes what happen is they doesn't really learn the topic on hand due to some challenges on the technology device. So Wacom provides a solution for this. So just like what was shown on the video, so Wacom tablets or all of the Wacom products are integrated for e-learning. So what do I mean by this? So once you can connect the Wacom device, you can easily use this as your digital whiteboard. So what you have to do is, for example, dito sa Zoom, you have the option to annotate and also to have a Zoom whiteboard that you can easily use na mag-present. Doesn't need for you to write a physical math problem sa whiteboard na nasa likod mo. You can easily use the Zoom whiteboard or on other platforms na pwedeng makita ng mga students natin on a very clear level. So andun yung retention, mas higher yung retention and mas madali para kay teacher kasi hindi na niya kailangang gumastos ng whiteboard, ng pentel pen na by the constant use mauubos. The Wacom device can help the teachers and sometimes the students then to also show the solutions and also to provide a better learning on this class home setup. Sorry. So this some of the features ng mga teachers natin from other countries, in Singapore, Malaysia, and also dito rin sa Philippines, sorry. So they're using a Wacom Intus. Mamaya medyo pasadahan din natin yung para at least you know guys kung ano ba yung mga Wacom device na gusto nyong kunin. So teachers are using Wacom device such as Intus to be their annotating for their annotation sa e-learning. And also there also this pen display type na mga Wacom device which is actually a monitor that you can directly write dun sa screen. So ano bang difference ng dalawa? Kasi some on the nursery level, even din ako, we're taught to see yung mga mga drawing natin or sinusulit natin directly. So when you're writing on your paper and with your pen and paper, directly mo nakikita yung sinusulat mo or dinodrawing mo. Pero with the pen tablet kasi, what will happen is your eyes will focus on the screen or on your monitor while your hand are writing sa baba. So it's just like a mouse. Ang mangyayari kasi nun, andun yung learning curve na parang manindibago yung teacher or yung student na, hala, nasa yung cursor ko. But with pen display, we deduct or inalis namin yung learning curve dito since you can easily see yung ginagawa mo on your screen there. Sorry about that. Okay, so the next thing naman, sorry. On other educational sectors, just to give you guys some news, a lot of teachers na rin are, and also other universities are transitioning well on e-learning. They're using Wacom as their digital whiteboard in giving their students a more comprehensive na teaching or na class. Yon. So ayun guys, for our educational sector, even though it's being affected in coronavirus and on our pandemic, it's a good thing that humans are born to survive and also adapt din sa challenges natin. So with the help of technology, it helps rin yung mga teachers and also students to transition in this classroom at home setup na learning. Okay, so as I've mentioned kanina, I'm going to quickly discuss lang din kung ano ba yung mga products ng Wacom that we can consider then either on your graphic journey kung gusto natin maging graphic artist or kung gusto rin nating makapagturo ng mas mabilis. Okay, so one by Wacom. This will be a short clip lang din. Okay, one by Wacom. One by Wacom is the most basic na pen tablet or basic na product ng Wacom right now sa Philippines. So this is actually the most sellable product na binibili ng mga teachers natin for them to teach, for example, yung math, or they have to sign docs virtually para dun sa school. So technically, one by Wacom comes in two sizes. It's the small and also medium, and provides you with 2048 pressure levels. So pressure levels, as I mentioned earlier, this is the measurement ng thickness and also kung gaano kanipis or gaano kakapal yung gusto mo mangyari sa strokes mo. So this is a very good options sa mga math teachers kasi it replicates yung handwriting and also yung solutions na pwede mong isulat on digital whiteboards habang nagtuturo ka. So this will work on both PC or Windows OS ng mga laptops and also Mac. So you don't have any problem with the compatibility. So another key selling point of one by Wacom is doesn't have any battery sa pen. Kasi if ever that when you're using sabihin nating mouse, there will come a time that your wireless mouse will be low-bat and sometimes hindi mo alam kung if it will be during presentation. That is a very big challenge pag na-low-bat yung mouse mo and hindi available yung trackpad mo. So with the use of Wacom, the technology natin, the EMR na discussed ko a while ago, it provides you the freedom or yung security na hindi mo na-low-bat yung device mo habang nagtuturo ka or habang gumagawa ka ng artworks mo. Okay? So this is the basic na pen tablet natin. Then let's quickly move on na lang din. So ayoko kasi mag-dig in deep guys dito sa Wacom product since we're trying to discuss all about the industry. But for you to guys give some option para at least kung ano yung mga gusto nating bilhin or ano yung gusto nating maging career, I can also give you the options kung ano ba yung pwede nating magamit on our career. Okay, so the next thing is the Wacom Intus. So here you go, guys. All right, so Wacom Intos. So technically, guys, on the pen tablets kasi ng Wacom, the most basic is the 1x Wacom, which was discussed a while ago. And the next na Wacom model for the pen tablets, the Wacom Intos. So Intos is a step up ng pen tablet natin which provide you with more specification na needed mo kung hindi enough yung specification na binibigay ng 1x Wacom. So, Wacom Intos provide you with 4,000 pressure levels, which means you will have a more option ng sizes na magagawa mo with your strokes. And very sensitive din siya compared to other brands kasi we're using the EMR technology na guys, which is the battery-free and very pressure-sensitive na mga pens. And also, the difference of Wacom Intos is the Express Keys. So, Express Keys, guys, this is also a hotkey or also a shortcut keys that you can fully customize depending on your preference during your discussion or your artworks. So for example, guys, yung teacher or ikaw, during your artwork, nahihirapan ka na i-access yung shortcut sa keyboard mo. What you can do is to designate a certain work or certain na command prompt dito sa button na to para maging shortcut. For example, which is yung favorite ng mga high school and colleges natin, the Control-C and Control-V. You can easily designate yung command na yon dito. So, for example, if i-press mo dito, nilagay mong command dito is Control-C, what will happen is when you press this, it will automatically copy. For example, kung nilagay mo na dito is Control-V, pag pinindot mo yun, it will automatically paste. So it will all boils down, guys, on what preference or what command are you going to designate dito since you have the freedom to do it. And also the Wacom Intos, some Wacom Intos pala also give you the option to connect it wirelessly. Kasi the 1x Wacom is being connected via USB port and also micro USB to the 1x Wacom. But the Wacom Intos, guys, provide you with the option not just wired but also through a Bluetooth connection. So if you're using laptops, kadalasan meron na yung built-in na Bluetooth eh. So kung medyo OC ka sa wire, you can use the Wacom Intos to connect it wirelessly and pwede kang tumayo kung gusto mag-discuss habang tumatayo or if you need time to think and to draw, pwede mo rin siyang gawin since hindi ka limited dun sa wire na nakakonect sa computer mo. Okay? So, dun sa video, it was mentioned that the Wacom Intos also gives you the option to download free softwares. So technically, guys, if you're on the graphic industry kasi, one of the most important na need nating malaman is ano ba yung gagamitin natin na software to do the artworks or to do the graphic arts. Now, if you buy, for example, ng 1x Wacom or sabihin natin other brands, kadalasan andun yung challenge na you're transitioning from the traditional art to digital art. Anong gagamitin kong software? Will it be Photoshop or AutoCAD? So, ang ginawa ng Wacom, it removes the challenge or yung problem na yun na makakaharap natin. Since what we did is to provide you with free softwares that you can easily download and pwede mo na rin magamit right away. So, these softwares are industry grade din naman. So kadalasan ginagamit rin siya on the advertising firms or on the animation side. So for example, for the Wacom Intos, kung bibili ka, for example, the Wacom Intos non-wireless, which can only be connected via wire, is 4,800 pesos. Pero yung free software niya cost around $50. So, imagine guys, hindi ka namang problema sa software mo. And also, once you buy your premium and matibay na Wacom tablet, meron ka pang $50 na freebie, which is the software. So, as time goes by, guys, you will learn how to digitally do your artwork sa Corel Painter Essentials, sa Studio Paint, or Corel Aftershock. And pag doon, you can easily transition to other programs na mas complicated. Pero also guys, I don't like to give you the idea that all the Wacom tablets or Wacom products can only be used in one program. So I want you to think, guys, that Wacom products are just like keyboard and mouse, that you can easily use it on other programs. Also, just a quick trivia lang din, Wacom tablets are also being used in gaming. So I don't know if you're very familiar with OSU, the game. So they're using the Wacom tablets instead of using their mouse. It's very faster to click and also to drag using the Wacom tablets. Same thing when you're drawing. So as time goes by, guys, moving on pala, dun sa Intuos Small pala natin, you have the option of the non-wireless and wireless. And also comes in 2 sizes. So I don't want to dig in deep on there. Pero guys, I give you the option. If you don't want the one by Wacom, you can go for Wacom Intuos for better specs. Okay? Sige, let's move on to our last na product na gusto kong i-highlight na good for the graphic arts and also for e-education. So Wacom One. Alright, so Wacom One. So Wacom One is actually the most affordable na nirelease ni Wacom for the pen display market natin. So initially kasi, the Wacom Cintiq 13, it's the same 13-inch na monitor or pen display ng Wacom. Initially, nung ni-launch siya from the previous year, it was cost around 49,000 SRP. But syempre, medyo mahal siya. I mean, mahal siya for a monitor na magagamit mo your graphic arts. So, ang naisip ni Wacom, why don't we also cater din yung mga medium range or yung medyo entry level na mga market natin that they wanted to use the pen display compared sa mga pen tablets. So, Wacom One was released only this year at only 21,900 pesos. So even though medyo pricey pa siya, but guys, if you really wanted to go for an industry na graphic arts, you really need a very reliable na mga product. So that can last for 5 years, for 10 years. Kasi Wacom, kaya tayo naging industry grade standard sa graphic industry is because aside from Wacom being a Japanese brand which really ensures the quality of the product compared on sabi nating Chinese brands. But Wacom gives the security sa mga artists for a longer usage of the product. Actually, yung mga artists na nakakausap ko, they're still using the first to second generation ng mga Wacom tablets nila that last for about 5 to 8 years na and still working. So even though guys, medyo malaki yung price, but I don't want you to focus that because as time goes by, mababawi mo naman yan kasi hindi mo kailangan magpalit ng mga devices or ng product. So Wacom One also provides you with 4,000 pressure levels which can easily replicate yung pressure feel and also yung handwriting mo. So, for example, nakita niyo sa video doon that you can easily annotate directly sa screen. You can do that on Wacom Pen Display. So, going to the setup of home learning, when you're using the Wacom One, you can easily use this as your blackboard. So, isipin niyo guys, you're writing on the Wacom One, and it will show directly dun sa pinapresent mo sa mga students mo or gusto mong i-present sa teacher mo or vice versa. So Wacom One provides you a more easy technology for you to cater the e-learning and also for the graphic arts na rin. So this is compatible with Mac OS, PC or Windows-based na mga laptops and also selected Android devices. So you can easily connect this to your Android device. Pero medyo selected nga lang. Kadalasan medyo high-end siya kasi the phones that has a USB-C connection or Type-C. So nevertheless, guys, Wacom One is a very good brand na ginagamit na rin ng mga artists natin ngayon. So, moving on, guys, medyo malapit na rin ako matapos. So, I just wanted to invite everyone to like the Wacom Philippines Facebook page and follow Wacom Philippines Instagram account. So, ano ba yung makuha natin pag finalo natin dito? So, even though, guys, na we're learning on the proper setup ng sabihin natin universities and also colleges, but it also very important for you guys to learn about your skills. So during this pandemic, we launched this activation sa Wacom Philippines, wherein we invite a lot of artists and creative studios and animation academy to teach us for free. So for sure, since need rin natin, during, sabihin natin, pag nakagraduate tayo, you're going to need a lot of certificates to show dun sa company na pag-a-applyan natin that we are fully equipped and also alam din natin yung meron tayong skills that we can contribute to a company. So, instead of asking everyone for a paid webinars para sa mga schools na to, what we did in Wacom Philippines, we invited these academies and also animation studios to teach us for free, and we're giving you guys a free certificates that you can easily use on your, or you can easily include on your resume. So guys, even you have the good teaching coming from the WCC for your education. But if you follow the Wacom Philippines, you can have the access for the skills training that you will be needing on the industry. So whether it will be e-learning or graphic industry. Kasi guys, hindi lang namin dito basta tinuturo yung sabihin natin only the Adobe. We're teaching a wide variety of topics. For example, how to use your brush, on how to transition from traditional to digital. And also we invite a lot of well-known brands such as ASUS, MSI to also share their thoughts and other products that you can easily use on your creative journey. So yun lang guys, before I end siguro, I would really like to invite you guys to like the page, because guys, I don't want you to miss any opportunity for a free training and free webinar that you can easily use on your future. And also, we're also running some social media campaigns where we give away sometimes Wacom products and also Wacom premiums. So if you guys really want it, go ahead. So ayun lang. That concludes my my webinar for today, and I would like to thank everyone, the students, and also Dr. Melo and WCC in general for inviting Wacom to share our knowledge to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Caleb.
Thank you.
Hi guys. Nandiyan pa ba kayo?
Yes po.
Dito pa po.
Yes po.
Guys,
Yes po.
bago kayo mag-leave,
Yes
meron
po.
kayong certificate na makukuha.
May
Yes
bayad
po.
yun, di ba, ma'am? 50.
Yes po.
May ba-
Kung natapos niyo yung 4
Bayad po ba
speaker,
yung 50?